The Florida Gators strength and conditioning program is in shambles. Not really, but it's fun to overreact.
You are Locked On Gators, your daily podcast on the Florida Gators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Locked On Gators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free wherever listen to the podcast and on YouTube. Happy Friday. I'm Brandon Olsen. Find me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Find all my written work for New York Giants on SI. Today's episode of Locked On Gators is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. And the Florida Gators, I mean, they've had injuries, sure, but it's just they're grossly overplayed right now. Okay. I'm not even talking about the rivals who, if you're trolling injuries, you're nothing short of an absolute scumbag. Just want to throw that out there. But the Florida Gators have been dealing with injuries this fall camp, and social media has gone right after their strength and conditioning program. And to me, that's crazy. And I don't like to seem like I'm just like blindly defending them, right? It's possible that there's an issue there. It's possible. I'm not saying that there is. I'm not saying that there isn't, but I personally I hate blaming the strength and conditioning staff, especially for injuries that happen in fall camp and injuries that happen where we don't get any official word, right, of what it is. Because injuries that happen in fall camp, none of us are there to see that, right? We don't know when these things happen, so I can't even really go, oh, looked like it might have been this. Looked like this might have happened. We can't even do that. So that's one, is that we can't do, like, if it happens during a game, that's different, right? If it happens during a game, we see it happen, we can go, all right, well, we can replay it, we can see. We're still not doctors, but we can at least have a general opinion, right? If you get 3 guys in one game that are running and then start grabbing their hamstring because they weren't stretched out properly, then sure, you can have that conversation. But we're seeing injuries that are popping up in fall camp that are minor injuries, right? We'll talk about them getting healthy in the next segment because everybody came back, which we'll kind of talk about that for the rest of the show, really. But also, we don't know the details. You know, like I've not been quiet. I cover the New York Giants as well. And with the New York Giants, they at least tell you, hey, it's a back injury. And then you can speak with a coach, and a coach will sometimes be like, yeah, you know, sprained ankle, pulled hammy, whatever it might be. And you can kind of know what it is. But in college, we get what? Lower body, upper body. That's it. How can anybody go out there and blame strength and conditioning for injuries that we don't know the details of? And like these strength and conditioning tweets are coming out before people even get confirmation of what an injury is or that someone's injured. Like we saw what on Saturday during the open practice, Trey Wilson pulled up and people started bashing the strength and conditioning staff for that. Yesterday was Thursday. He was at practice without the no contact jersey. He was there less than a week later. Not a long time, right? Also, I think it was Saturday's open practice, Aiden Mizell pulled up and came back. And it was still like, oh, wow, look at the strength and conditioning program. It's football. Guys are going to get banged up. Guys are going to get hurt. It's about not getting injured. That's what matters way more. But guys are going to get hurt. And so I don't think it's fair to blame strength and conditioning for everything. I'm not saying that they're perfect. In fact, last week or so, we were talking about how the strength and conditioning staff, like I know the strength and conditioning in the sense of being able to go out there and do things consistently. I know that looks good, right? We see the weight, we see the speeds, we see all that. I mean, look at the guys and they just look different than when Billy Napier got here and even last year. They look different. Injuries are injuries. They happen. I'm not going to always blame strength and conditioning, especially if they're not consistent things that happen in consistent ways. Like if I see a guy get hit, I'm not going to go, oh, strength and conditioning broke his collarbone. I'm not doing that. And so we don't know the details of these injuries. And so I just think it's absolutely asinine to go out there and go, oh, it's strength and conditioning's fault. That just doesn't make sense. And again, I'm not saying that they're perfect. I'm not saying that none of it's their fault. I'm just saying it's wild to me to go out there and blame them when we don't know the details of the injuries. That's just stuff that I can't get over. Also, we spoke about this during the spring because during the spring, Florida had a lot of guys out as well, if you remember. Florida had a lot of guys dealing with injuries and didn't participate in the spring. And so many people were like, oh, well, this is way different from last year with Billy. This is way different from last year. Last year in the spring, we were healthy. And I want to talk about something that for all of college is different now with injuries. Yes, Florida had a ton of guys on the injury report going into fall camp or leading up to fall camp, I'll say. Right? Like a few days before camp, we were like, all right, who's hurt? Who didn't play in the spring? Who didn't do this? Who didn't do that? So many of those injuries were from the end of the 2024 season. Jameer Grimsley's back at practice fully healthy. First off, congratulations, strength and conditioning. Right? If we're going to fault him, we're gonna celebrate him, right? But so many of those injuries happened during the season, like Jameer Grimsley. Caleb Banks banged up during the season. Jamari Lyons banged up before last season. A bunch of the injuries happened at some point during the season. And that's what football is now, by the way. It's just you play through the season, you play hurt, and then you go. You're not going to be healthy by the end of the season. If you are, you're either incredibly durable, incredibly lucky, didn't play that much, or a combination of them all, right? Maybe you didn't play hard enough, you were avoiding tackles, whatever it may be. But guys are going to get banged up and then get surgery after the season. That's what especially makes college football like the NFL now, because that's what happens in the NFL. This spring, I was at Giants camp, and so many guys were out because they were recovering from end of season surgery. That they finished the season, they just then got worked on. And you see, this is also one of those things where it's not like these guys are just getting hurt randomly, or it's not like they're just getting hurt with it's just soft tissue injuries. It's not like that's what's happening with everybody. I just don't get where this, because I speak with people that aren't Florida Gators fans, and like, oh yeah, Florida's dealing with a slew of injuries right now. And it's like, are they? Because I feel like we also don't talk about the possibility that maybe they're just being extra cautious with guys right now. Like maybe they're just being very cautious with guys and saying, hey, we've got Long Island and then USF to open the season. We don't have to rush guys through. We can, say, hey, you got a little dinged up. We're going to give you a few days off, and then we're going to get you back into it and get back into the rhythm. I feel like I hate the excessive energy being sent to strength and conditioning without knowing the details. That's just wild to me. It just doesn't make sense to me to just blame strength and conditioning for this when it doesn't make sense. Like, it's just blaming things to blame things. But, like, there were a bunch of injuries that happened late in the season, and they got worked on, and we've had this conversation. That's college football now. College football bowl season is later. College football playoff season is later. The Senior Bowl this year had a bunch of Ohio State players accept invites and end up not participating because they played in the national championship like 2 weeks before the Senior Bowl. That's just what happens. The schedule is later. Guys get hurt. Guys get worked on later. The reason that Florida was so healthy going into 2024 spring and not 2025 is because they didn't play a bowl game at the end of the 2023 season. They did in 2024. Let's not overcomplicate this, right? That's what it is. It's football. Guys get hurt, and they're going to be fine. We're going to talk about guys getting healthy now for the Florida Gators when we get back with Locked On Gators. Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action or tennis, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following the action, right? Ben Shelton. It's tennis season as well. I feel like we don't give enough credit to that. It's tennis season as well. Baseball, Pete Alonso, Wyatt Langford, plenty of Florida Gators in the MLB. Plenty of Florida Gators to bet on. I'm just saying. If you're new to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. Thanks again for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free wherever it's in the podcast and on YouTube. And while we just spent a bunch of time talking about the Florida Gators being hurt going into camp, which again is a very important thing for me at least, because it's not like these are like yes, Florida has injuries in fall camp, or Florida has hurt players in fall camp, but a lot of them weren't hurt in fall camp. They were hurt before fall camp, and it's carrying over. That's fine. Again, I've said this last segment. I've said it before. I do think that with Long Island and USF to open the season for the first time in Billy Napier's career at Florida, first time in Billy Napier's tenure at Florida, I do think that allows you to kind of go, hey, we don't need to be full throttle at the start of fall camp with everything. We can ease some guys into things. We can take a little bit more time perfecting small details and just making sure guys are good to go by the time that the season rolls around. Like, we want them playing in week 1 and week 2 and easing into the season, easing into game time, and then going into week 3 against LSU and then week 4 against Miami. Like, we want you healthy for that. But we also don't want to go, all right, well, you know what? You're banged up. You just got to deal with it now. And because especially when you look at it with, you're not going to get healthier as the season goes on, right? As an individual player, you're not going to get healthier as the season goes on. If I'm a player and I've got, I don't know, a shoulder issue, I don't know, a shoulder issue early in fall camp, I can sit for 4 or 5 days, and then I can get eased back into it, get into the season, and get ready to go through the season and be at close to 100% as I'm going to be. I'd rather do that than, let's say, hey, I know you're banged up. We're just going to power through today, and we're just going to keep powering through, and then I'm going to power through the entire season and not take a rest when I could have taken a rest. I feel like I'd rather be cautious right now, especially when camp opened a week and a half ago. I'd rather be cautious now. When we get closer to the season, sure, maybe not so much, but now's the time to do it. I will say, with the offense getting healthier, it's something that I'm excited for, right? Trey Wilson, Aiden Mizell, Tony Livingston, Khalil Jackson all shed their non-contact jerseys yesterday. So they were all, again, shedding the non-contact, all considered healthy there. And that, to me, is just so vitally important. I think that getting DJ Lagway healthy and the pass catchers healthy is honestly maybe the most important part of fall camp for Florida. Just because you can look at DJ Lagway last year in practice was taking reps with the starters, of course. That was a big thing with him because he was supposed to rotate in the entire time. And so DJ Lagway was taking reps with the starters. Great. Now you've got a new batch of pass catchers that are working with the ones, right? Dallas Wilson's here. J. Michael Sturdivant's here. Like, you've got a new batch of guys there. Developing that chemistry is huge. Especially, DJ Lagway has shown, I'm going to throw to whoever's open. But at some point during the season, there's going to be times where nobody is open, and DJ Lagway needs to just go out and, well, make a throw. Right, like he just needs to say, "Hey, it's 3rd and 6. We're losing in the 4th quarter. I need to just make a throw." And there's going to be someone that he's comfortable throwing to, even if they're not open. Developing that chemistry and figuring out that relationship between a quarterback and a receiver, getting the timing down. Like, let's go back to the 2024 season, right? I feel like a lot of Florida Gators fans when we were talking about Miami, because Miami was Cam Ward, new quarterback. You had Damien Martinez, new running back, who's solid pass catcher. You had all the receivers with a new quarterback. It was important to, develop that chemistry, right? And a bunch of Florida Gators fans, myself included, we were talking about, well, getting that chemistry going is important. Figuring out that chemistry is important. Figuring out that timing is important, right? If I know how fast you run, I can accurately lead you. That was the thing with Anthony Richardson, which let's get this out the way, right? I am aware he was never a good passer, right? But there were times where Anthony Richardson was openly just like, hey, I didn't realize he was that fast, or I thought he was faster, and so I was trying to lead him more. Or again, like I didn't think he was that fast, so he ended up being a little underthrown when I could have put more air under it. Things like that doesn't happen if you truly know the guys that you're working with. And so for DJ Lagway, I've openly said I need him to get reps out there just so he can read a defense, react to a pass rush. Again, I'm fine with you saying, hey, once the pass rush gets into the backfield, blow the whistle, keep him clean, cool with me. But DJ Lagway needs that experience reading defenses in live situations, as close to live as you can get. DJ Lagway needs that experience operating an offense in live situations, as close to live as you can get, for his development, because that's what needs work. Physically, he's there. Physically, he's the guy. He's got to fix mechanics at some point. Yeah, that's the thing that we know he's working on. It's improved from high school to his freshman year. Clips look better than he did last year mechanically. Like that's a thing that's going to be developed over time. The mental game is going to be developed over time with experience. That's that's the experience he needs. That's the work he needs. Allowing him to also get that chemistry with these receivers will help him there. Get choice routes, knowing, hey, Scott's probably going to do this based on what the defense is showing. I'm going to do this. Getting that chemistry in an offense, not just routes on air, but getting chemistry in an offense is huge. And so Florida now getting healthy, that's huge for the offense. Because think about it, if DJ Lagway was there and a bunch of the receivers were out, and then you get into the season and now the starting receivers are ready, they hadn't been working together. During spring, DJ Lagway wasn't participating in the team drills and all. I don't care how you want to phrase it. I've said before, I believe he was throwing to some extent, or I feel pretty comfortable saying that he was throwing to some extent in some capacity, even if it, wasn't team drills, whatever it might have been. But he wasn't developing that same chemistry with everybody. So now you have the opportunity to do that. A bunch of receivers get banged up when DJ is healthy, and it seems like, well, we're still trying to get that together. And again, I don't fully believe that everyone's healthy, but non-contact jerseys have been shed. Now we're talking about actually getting to go and work and build together. I will say this. I'm not a big conspiracy theory guy. But I do have one that we're going to talk about. And it's not even one that I'm really pushing, but it's one that crossed my mind. And I need to at least just put it out into the universe. We'll talk about it when we get back with Locked On Gators. Thanks again for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free wherever it's in the podcast and on YouTube. We're going to wrap up today's show with, again, breaking from what we usually do, right? I think that we can almost always say this show is not usually about conspiracy theories or hypotheticals. I remember I spoke about Florida should go get Cam Coleman last year. And I had a few people go, that's not what you usually do. We're versatile here. Okay. We're going to break out there. But I'm going to put my tinfoil hat on for a minute, or we'll say a few minutes. Going to put my tinfoil hat on, and I have a conspiracy theory I want to throw out into the universe. First off, yes, everyone's been throwing the fit about the injuries and and blaming strength and conditioning, and we went from last week and the weeks prior, people talking about how Tyler Miles is fantastic, is a godsend, needs another extension right now, or needs an extension right now, which, by the way, I also want to throw that out there. Don't forget, he wasn't supposed to be in this position. Like, he was supposed to be part of the strength and conditioning staff. And then I forgot the guy, but the guy that went to Boston College, is it Craig? I don't know why Craig is getting thrown into my mind. But he left. He joined Florida, and he then left a few days later when Bill O'Brien got hired at Boston College. And then that's when that's when Tyler Miles took over and has since then been in charge here. And Craig Fitzgerald. There we go. It's Craig Fitzgerald. And so I just want to throw that out there as well. Like, this is someone who is not supposed to be in this position, got put into this position, and this team is making strides in terms of weight gain and lifting and athletic testing. Like, that's just crazy for me. So kudos to Tyler Miles. Like, whether or not you like him for whatever reason or dislike him for whatever reason, undeniable to say that, considering what his expectations were when he got here, and especially when he took over for Craig Fitzgerald, and everybody was like, oh, yeah, we got this guy here. That's big, okay? And I just think it's very interesting that everyone threw a fit. Not everyone, but a bunch of people on social media threw a fit about strength and conditioning potentially leading to injuries. I must have said interviews for some reason, but leading to injuries. They blame strength and conditioning on social media. Fire Tyler Miles. This is what happens when you have a guy that's just got tattoos and that's it, or whatever it is that people keep talking about with him. And then the next practice, no non-contact jerseys. There was Khalil Jackson, Aiden Mizell, Maurice Tonkara, Trey Wilson, Tony Livingston, Pop Howard's back fully, Jameer Grimsley, Jamrock Grimsley, Deshaun Johnson. I think there were a couple more guys that all of a sudden didn't have the non-contact jerseys anymore. Shout out, I think it was Cam Parker that had the list of guys that lost them, and said that there were no players seen in non-contact jerseys. There were some guys not seen at all, which we know, like Trayon Webb got procedure done. We know Dallas Wilson the other day, there was an announcement that, he was going to be out for a couple of weeks with a lower body, which, again, how are you going to successfully or accurately blame anybody when you don't know what it is or how it happened? I think that's wild. Like, and maybe it's because I'm a Mets fan, and so it's like I've seen some of the dumbest injuries around, whether it's stepping on a mitt in the clubhouse, slipping in the shower, whatever it may be, like things like that. Like, I've seen those before, so maybe that's what it is. But why I can't fault strength and conditioning for any reason or for no reason. But I will say, I at least had the thought of, what if they just were like, all right, so social media is killing strength and conditioning right now. Let's just drop the non-contact jersey right now. Like we're not really seeing the contact part anyway, right? The media that's there gets a few minutes of routes on air and stuff like that. So you're not always seeing contact. So maybe there were some guys, because Cam did mark, I think it was Trey Wilson, Khalil Jackson, Aiden Mizell were there, didn't have the non-contact jerseys on, but also weren't running routes. Like, maybe that's just it. I will say that I do think having the non-contact jersey off, if you're doing it purely for perception, is a very odd thing to do. But I'm just throwing my conspiracy there. That's what it is. I'm not a big conspiracy theory guy. It's Stevie Wonder can probably see a little bit, and and that Florida may have just removed the non-contact jerseys to take the heat, the unwarranted heat, off of strength and conditioning. And that's where I'm gonna go with it. That's my conspiracy theory that I'm not really pushing, but I just want to throw out there. I thought about it. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. Every day we are available daily and free wherever podcast and on YouTube. We will be back tomorrow. We won't. We will be back Monday at the absolute latest to talk more Florida Gators football. For Locked On Gators, I'm Brandon Olsen. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter, WNS_Brandon. Find all my written work with New York Giants on SI, and I'll see you all next time.